Hello. Welcome back to another indie interview. I know this is kind of a bit of a short span since my last one, but I have a very special guest with us today. For our very first indie comic interview, uh, I am interviewing the creator of his own original superhero series and universe, Sentinel Corps, made by Alex Weston. Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Alex Weston. I'm sure some of you guys, I'm sure some of you watching probably already know me by now, or are friends with. But just real nice to be on this little podcast, or what is this? Just a podcast live stream?
Yeah, we're live streaming right now. It's technically both.
Yeah, well, I'm still happy to be on it.
hmm Yeah, it's uh interesting because this is actually my first indie comic interview. Everything else has just been animation up to this point. But yeah, we've actually known each other for a bit. Unlike some other stuff I've done, which has been a bit more fresh. Like, yeah, we actually both met on DeviantArt. We were both discussing our series, back when DeviantArt was still like a place for artists to post their stuff.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
times.
Oh yeah. Now I barely go on there. Like, I just. Do you still post on there?
Yeah, I post there regularly
hmm
when I can.
hmm Yeah. But yeah, would you like to introduce us to your series, Sentinel Corps?
Okay. So to basically start, me and my friend and co-writer Al Pendragon, we basically came up with this idea to make a comic out of the superhero OCs that I created. Because the thing is, they weren't even originally supposed to be a comic. They were just mostly made for like a side project, something I
hmm
do in the future. Because I drew all kinds of different characters, like horror characters, animal characters, all kinds of characters, and the superheroes were just like among that batch. But when um, when I was showing it to my friend at the time when we went, my friend Pendragon, we were at this art group at the meet, and when I showed it to him, he said like, "Hey, these are really good." I was like, "Have you thought about making a comic with them?" And at the time, I was working on a Wolf comic, which was kind of slow, progressive. And then I thought, you know what, this does sound more fun. So I'm gonna, so I put that Wolf comic on hiatus, and we started working together to create a more fleshed out, superhero comic book, and that's when it resulted in the Sentinel Corps.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's how a lot of comics and series get off the ground. It's just kind of old projects that you've had in your mind or you've been lying on for a bit. That's been, uh, but
Oh
yeah.
yeah, the funny thing is, I had these characters for like almost over a decade, and they were originally created back when I was working with kids at an after-school program, and
Mm.
they loved the fact that I could draw these characters, and they loved asking questions about the characters. And one time, I decided, you know what, just for fun, I'm just going to draw some random superhero characters, and I started creating these characters. I mean, that would eventually become the characters you see in Sentinel Corps, but they
hmm
were clearly different at the time.
Of course,
And
yeah.
yeah, and the kids just absolutely love these characters, and they started asking questions about these characters, like, "Hey, what's his name? What does he do? What's he like?" And I was just, and for me, I was like being overwhelmed. It was like, okay, he's like, "Glad you guys like him, but I just made these guys like barely a day ago.
hmm
I don't know. Yeah, I was just drawing them just for fun, um, but in order to like indulge in them, I started brainstorming ideas, coming up with random random stories for these characters, and it eventually and this was kind of the starting point for how these characters came to be.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, especially it's one of those things. Like as a creative, just like in any field, is like once you get that affirmation from someone else, it's like, well, I want to know more now. It's like, oh, well, and then it just kind of starts a big ball, and you just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, now, let's get on with it. Let's talk about the first character overview.
Oh yeah, the overview is pretty much what I just basically told you. But to give you basically an overview of it, it's basically about this found family, a group of individuals, from all kinds of different walks of life. They they come together after a series of incidents and accidents or events that occur, that result in them becoming superpowered. And some of these groups include, like, which you'll see momentarily, like Omega, a military vet, with Tama Girl, a high school student, and Devil Cat, an MMA fighter. Just all kinds of walks of life, and they sort of come together, trying to not only tackle personal challenges in their life, but also to help to use their powers to sort of defend Sapphire City.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was curious. Would you say this is influenced by any other superhero universes, or did you make it because you wanted your own original superhero universe, not connected to anything, or?
You know what? It's not really influenced by other superhero universes.
Oh,
And whatever we did have to go look around for other superheroes ideas, it's usually just small little references, small little
hmm,
ideas. Just nothing extravagant. But yeah, mainly the Sentinel Corps really doesn't have any relations or resemblance to a lot of the other comics.
nice.
Although no, although that's just to my understanding. It's intentional that not to be related to other comics. But with how many comics there are out there,
Of course,
I'm sure there's something out there that's similar to my characters. I
with the 60 years plus of comics, it's almost impossible.
Yeah,
Or
so I don't overthink it
yeah,
that much. Is like
of course.
if there's a similarity to some character out there, it's purely coincidence, and I stopped caring a long time ago.
Oh no, yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those coincidences. Uh, I had a character in the works since like late 2020, and I got his animac finished, and I was very proud because I thought I was the first person to reference a character like this. I pulled from the nursery rhyme, Little Jack Horner, stuck his Santa corner, stuck his thumb in the pie, and I was so proud of myself. 2 weeks later, after the animac was finished, Puss in Boots 2 came out. I just went, damn it!
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
Yeah. I am curious though. Are you in? Would you say you're a big superhero comic fan in general, or is there like
I
a character run you really like, or an era?
You know what? I do like superheroes, and uh, yeah, I mean, I've always liked superheroes. I mean, I wasn't always an avid follower back then, but I'd say like maybe I'd say I started being more of an avid follower of comics maybe 10, like almost a decade ago.
Mm,
So I mean, I started becoming more of an avid follower, and plus I had relatives who were into comics as well. So I kind of they kind of rubbed off on I kind of rubbed off on them, or vice versa, and I started getting into comics just like they were, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun reading comics like Marvel, Spider Man, DC, Batman. It was
mhm.
like, but I decided when I made the Sentinel Corps comic, I thought, I thought I'd try a little bit of more different spin on it because the thing that's different from one of the things that's different about Sentinel Corps is that while it has the look of Western style comic, it has a lot of elements you'd see in anime as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, mostly because the characters aren't like consistent. I mean, don't consistently stay the same as most like Western comic characters
Mm,
do. They change, they evolve. They have different. They start having different
yeah.
personalities, different looks on life. That sort of thing. What you normally see in anime.
Yeah, your teenage character isn't gonna stay a teenage for 50 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not having the Spider-Man or the Bart Simpson thing. Just
Yeah. No, they're gonna change. They change, they evolve, that sort of thing.
yeah, that's great. Yeah. And next one, meet the team. Did you design? Is this their symbol or
That is their symbol. Yes,
mm,
that's their logo.
is it based off anything?
Well, I mean, the term sentinel is another phrase for guard, or guard, or guardian or something like that. And when I think of guardian, I think of like usually I think of the hoplite helmet. Of
Mhm.
course, a lot of people get that confused and say, "Oh, it looks like it's a Spartan helmet." It's like, Okay, no. Spartan is the name of the culture, of Sparta. Okay, hoplites are, hoplite armor went with all Greek warriors.
Mm.
But yeah, that's usually what I pictured with with a hoplite, helmet. And I figured it just kind of looked cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it has a great silhouette on its own as well. Like,
Yeah, this
yeah.
yeah, this logo itself, I made a logo myself, but this was back when I was not really good with making icons. So I asked a good friend of mine, Kato, he made this icon and it came out really great. But then once I started learning how to make more icons, I tweaked it up a little bit to update the colors a bit, give it a little bit more texture, and yeah, this is the new logo for them.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Omega, our first character.
Yep. So this is Omega. He is the team leader of the Sentinel Corps. Full name Nathan Fredericks. He's 32, former U.S. Marine. He has the ability of energy absorption, manipulation, and flight.
Mm.
And a little thing about him is that he is actually the first superhero character I made that resulted in that got involved with the Sentinel Corps. He was the very first one I made. So, but back then he looked way different. He used to wear like a full spandex suit without the armor and had like that whole full face mask that looked like, how does he breathe, or how does he how does he talk in that kind of mask, the Spider-Man mask sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah, so he had that mask for a while, but then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give him armor instead. So so like 3 or 4 redesigns later, this is how he looks like now.
Yeah. Great colors. Two. He's the leader of the team. How would you say he became the leader, or is it just something he kind of naturally fell into, or?
Well, that's sort of how it's the case. There's 2 reasons for that. One is that he was the kind of the co-creator of the team alongside Takumi, which you will see in the slides that follow. He was the co-creator, and not only that, but he has the most experience when it comes to leading in actual combat. He's the military vet, so it's sort of so he naturally sort of became the leader of the team.
Nice. Now, did he make his own suit, or did Omega get his suit made for him?
He got his suit made for him. Takumi, which like I said, you'll see him. He's the one who designed the suits for the characters.
That's wonderful. Would you say he's more of like when it comes to a leader, is he more like strict or like harsh? Like he runs it like he would in the military, or is he a bit more of an understanding person?
Well, I mean, he's practical, and like I said, it lets it below. He has a strong sense of responsibility. So when it comes to his leadership, he can be in combat. He can be strict, or it's like basically basically when he tells you to do something, you do it. It's just part of how he's trained as a military soldier. Eventually, that's how he starts off, but he learns that working with a team of people who have no military experience is quite different than than leading a squad of soldiers in the military. So he has to learn to adapt his leadership.
Yeah. Does this suit have any extra functions other than what's previously listed? Like, would you say it's kind of your traditional sci-fi suit that like has a bunch of weapons and gives him like super strength, or is it more of just a brief enhancer exoskeleton kind of suit?
Well, I mean, the suit serves two purposes. One is that the armor provides additional protection. It's light enough, it's light enough to the point where he can fly and move around without any trouble, without being encumbered by it. And the other feature is that it helps contain his energy, which I'll tell you about that. The thing is, he has one issue when it comes to his abilities, is that he can't control his energy without that suit. Without that suit, he could his energy can release without him. How do I put this? His energy output, he can't control it. So if he were to release his energy, it's all the way to 10. He can't dial it to like 1 or 2 without the suit. It's either 0 or 10 without.
Okay, so it's like a regulator.
Pretty much, yeah. The suit regulates his power, so and it also contains it as well. So those are the two main functions of the suit.
When you were designing this suit, or like doing like trying to redesign stuff like that, did you look up or study any actual real life like power suits, or did you want to make your own, something more original? Or
I did study up actual suits. I wanted to make sure that the suit appeared functional, or it wouldn't be an issue. Because one of the things I remember when I was designing the suit for Omega is that I recalled Iron Man. And the thing about
of
Iron
course.
Man, but here's the thing about interesting the Iron Man is that it looks really cool in the comics. But I remember what Robert Downey Jr. said about when he was wearing the Iron Man suit. He could barely move in that thing.
Oh yeah.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I remember when initially he wore the whole suit, but then he's like, I just want to eat pot, because that suit it's a suit, but it's very like slimming and like so now whenever like after the first Iron Man, he just wore the top piece and the rest was CGI'd.
Exactly, yeah. So I decided to make sure that, taking into account, okay, I need to make sure that this armor, it's still armor, but he can still move around in that thing. So I kind of broke it. If you look at his suit, I broke it down where you can see his the body suit, like the wetsuit, but he's got armor pieces where it would provide protection. But in places where his joints or movable parts, it would allow him to be more flexible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wonderful. Does he have any other variants of suit, or is this just his main one?
This is just his main one for now. He doesn't really need. Yeah, he's not like, a lot of people get it confused. It's like, oh, he's like Iron Man. It's like, no, he's not. He's not anything like Iron Man. Or is that his powers and abilities, they're all from him. They're not from the suit. The suit just helps him regulate it, and the suit all it does is just provide him with protection.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Would you say he's the icon of the series, or is someone else?
No, don't get me wrong. He's one of, like, the thing about the Sentinel Corps is that it's not about one specific character. It's about the whole team as the main roster. There is one character who's sort of like the face of the Sentinel Corps, which you'll see in the next slide. She's more like the poster boy, like the icon. Right. But despite the fact that she's the most popular character, she's not the main character. It not revolves around her.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide.
Oh, yeah. Then this is who I was talking about earlier. This is Takumi. Takumi Daiichi. He is a 12-year-old prodigy, a tech genius, engineer, and is the co-founder of the Sentinel Corps team and its main benefactor. If you want to make a comparison, I guess you can say he's just like a dialed down Tony Stark, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, child genius.
I know I'm gonna get. I know I've heard those comparisons all the time, and I'm not gonna hear them nonstop. So yeah. If you want to if people want to make a comparison to help them better understand the character, just think of a younger Tony Stark.
Yeah. So one of those things. Would you say? I'm just curious. Is his name a pun on anything? Like, is it one of those Japanese puns, or is it just a name you found interesting? Or
well, it's been a while since I looked it up, but I remember my co-writer, when he came up with the name Daiichi, I believe it means creation or something along that lines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so he decided to do a pun with that. And Takumi is just a name for it.
Okay.
I believe that's what it means. I could be wrong. I'd have to look it up. It's been a while since I looked up the meaning of that name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now it says he has an IQ of 268. Is this due to a supernatural or superpower ability, or is he just like naturally that smart?
He's just naturally that smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just naturally that smart. And fun little history. A little history about him is that he is not Japanese, despite his name. He's actually adopted. He's actually born in South America, but yeah, he was adopted by Japanese parents who happened to who happen to be entrepreneurs and and really high up in high up in society. So his father, when he realized Takumi had a really high IQ and really natural talent for engineering, he started kind of grooming him to be to be a good engine, to be a skilled engineer, very creative, and resulting in how he is now. He used to work for Takumi used to work for Talon Corp, which is one of the companies in the story, but left it to to find his own to found his own company, which is Cosmic Creations.
Yeah. I was gonna say, are his parents still alive, or?
Oh yeah, his parents are definitely alive. It's just that I'd like to say they're kind of like, it's really difficult to spend time together because the father is often away on business a lot, and the mother, he tries to spend as much time with them as possible, but it's really difficult when it comes to having their own companies and constantly having busy schedules.
Of course. Now, what does Cosmic Creations do?
Cosmic Creations is is basically a tech company that revolves around creating very advanced technology for medical, home, basically anything that doesn't involve the military, because Takumi is very much against creating tech for the military. Yeah, that's partially one of the reasons why he left Talon Corp. Despite the fact that he loved working at Talon Corp, he did not like the direction that it was going to when it came to making contracts with the military. So he left that. Yeah, that was one of the reasons he left that company.
Would you say Cosmic Creations is it like a successful business, or is it just still on the rise up? Or
it's definitely a successful business. It's not as big as Talon Corp yet, but it is rising up there because Takumi has, thanks to his teachings with his father, he knows how to run a business as well, and knows how to promote, how to make tech that would be useful for the common people. So yeah, his business is on the rise. It's still it's not a big mega corporation, but it's getting up there.
Yeah. What'd you say his most capable inventions are?
Some of his capable inventions that one of the things, and this is one of the things that resulted in Omega getting his powers, is that he created this thing called the Omega One, which is this energy source where it could supply cheap, clean energy to anyone, that can't afford it. He's also created enhanced suits that would help for search and rescue, or construction. Basically, he's created all kinds of he's into robotics for the most part.
Nice. Does Takumi ever get on the action, or is he more of a guy in the chair kind of situation? Or
he's more of a guy in the chair kind of situation. He doesn't get involved with the action.
Nice. Excellent. Atomic Girl.
Oh yeah, sir. A lot of people know this character very well. This is Atomic Girl. She is technically the second character that gets involved in Sentinel Corps. Her full name is Rebecca K. Jones, but everyone just calls her Becky for short. She's 16 years old, attends Summerfield High School in Sapphire City, and next part is what a lot of people love about her, is that she is a hardcore gamer and comic book geek. Makes her often really relatable to a lot of people. Her ability is subatomic manipulation, and and to make it more of a simple term, it's transmutation. Something you'd see from Firestorm, Edward from Full Metal Alchemist, or most recently Adam Eve from from Invincible. Similar powers like that, just a little bit more dialed down. In terms of her personality, she's compassionate, plucky, quick thinking, altruistic, cheerful, and can be impulsive and overconfident at times.
Nice. You said she was a big fan of comic books. And superhero comics. Are superhero comics in here have they been like kind of documentaries, or are they based
Oh
on
no,
like in universe already established heroes, or
oh no, no. Here's the thing. When it comes to how superheroes are in the Sentinel Corps universe, they're very very recent. The Sentinel Corps universe is very similar to ours. We're at a point where superheroes were just stuff you'd see in movies or in comics. So the comics and stuff that she read were just their universe's version of our superheroes, basically. So I mean, like we have Superman, we have Batman, but we know they're not real. And same with them; they have their own. Same with Sentinel Corps; they have comic book heroes, but they're just in comics.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's great. Uh, yeah, confidence. Uh, what would you say? Is she able to, like, say, manipulate human flesh or anything like that, or create anything out of nothing, or what are the specifics of her abilities? Because you
Well,
said they
this
were dialed down than,
right.
say,
Well,
Adam Eve.
all right. Well, how do I put? It's really tricky to explain this, but her version of subatomic manipulation is that she can convert raw material into whatever she can think of, despite but as long as she understands the composition of what it's made of, how it works, the mechanics, and in terms of in terms of like manipulating organic material, she has yet to learn how to do that. Potentially she can, but
Mm.
she doesn't know how to at the moment because I mean, the way it's put here, or manipulating organic material is a little trickier to do than inorganic material for her. It's not that she can't do it; it's that when she tries to do it, it often does not result very well. In fact, horrendous actually.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. When did you say her abilities first manifested?
Her abilities first manifested during an event in the comic called the Nebula Incident, and during the Nebula Incident, Omega was fighting a villain named Nebula in a really intense fight, while Atomic Girl or Becky, along with her class, are attending a sort of campus to career field trip to Talon Corp. Uh, the fight between the two of them resulted in a collateral damage, a lot of a lot of property damage in terms of the company built headquarters that they were all in, which resulted in a mixture of gas that accidentally was released and was exposed to numerous people, including Becky and and other students and staff that were at them and the building during the fight.
Yeah. How old was Becky at the moment?
Becky is 16. Yeah, she was 16 and she still is 16 in this.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It does she take any martial arts, or does she just get by on her powers alone?
Well, here's the funny thing is, when her powers manifested, she thought, okay, you know what? I have these powers, and I could be a superhero, and and of course that was just her being naive because as soon as she made her own little costume, and went out in the streets to fight a bad guy, she ends up getting her ass kicked because she had never thrown a punch in her entire life. I mean, she's a gamer and a comic book geek. I mean, doesn't know any martial arts.
Mm.
She did never threw a punch in her entire life. And basically she got her ass kicked and she was almost killed until Omega actually came in and saved her. Now, like, to learn from her mistakes, she actually does take up, she starts considering, okay, I need to learn how to fight first. So she starts learning from Michelle, another character in the series, how to learn basic martial arts.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Uh, is her costume her own? Did she make it, or can she like, or did she like create from like her uh subatomic manipulation, or did Tamaki make it for her?
Uh, her first costume she made herself, not from her powers, but because she actually cosplays. So she actually she actually made her own suit using cosplay material that she had on her.
Mm.
So, but that one got pretty much trashed up from her trying to fight. So once she officially joined the Sentinel Corps, Takumi created the suit that you see in this image right here. It's a more professional looking suit.
And
no,
go on.
The funny thing is, like Takumi, despite the fact that she has the subatomic manipulation, she actually doesn't know how to manipulate her suit. She could use it as raw material if she wanted to, but she can't recreate her suit because how it's made is a little bit overcomplicated for her.
Yeah. What can she make? Like, what's her go-to thing to make in a scenario, like a villain scenario?
In a villain scenario, she typically makes weapons, mainly weapons that are inspired by stuff that she's seen in comics or in video games. This could include like melee weapons like swords, hammers, gauntlets, something that she can get up and close and personal with. And for a while, she could only create melee weapons because it was easier for her to understand how to make them. And later on in the series, she'll start learning how to make more complex weapons, like say long range weapons like rifles or pistols. But you've probably seen them in some of my images, and I tell people this is like, despite the fact that she makes my rifles and weapons, and guns, they're more like very crude, handmade looking models. They function more like airsoft guns than actual guns, and and basically, and they don't fire actual bullets. They fire high impact rubber bullets. So they're like non-lethal guns.
Yeah. How intelligent would you say she is on average? Just given that like she is able to make certain weaponry, but like compared to like other characters like Omega or Atomic Girl.
Well, she's definitely a smart girl, all right. Yeah, she's definitely a very smart girl, smarter than average one. But would I say she's a genius? No, she's not really a genius, but she does have an eidetic memory, a photographic memory. So basically, while she's good at memorizing like math or formulas, something which is really useful when it comes to her memorizing like the periodic table. It's really useful for her, but unfortunately, when it comes to other things like reading or math or other school things like related like reading, writing, or art, it's not that useful for her.
Nice. Does anyone in her like circle of friends know she's a superhero, or is this more of a secret identity?
In terms of her her school related friends, there's only one person who knows that she's a superhero, and that's her best friend, Mandy Song, and that's only because Mandy is also a superhero. So so she's among her friends. She's the only one that really knows that Atomic Girl is a superhero.
So, nice. What's her favorite superhero comic in your universe?
She loves two superhero comics. She likes Madam Titan, which Madam Titan outfit is sort of like the inspiration to her outfit, to Atomic Girl's outfit. And she loves Red Wolf. Red Wolf is kind of like the Batman, the Batman of the series of the Sapphire or the Sentinel Corps series, like their version of Batman. I mean, he's not real, of course, but that's just their version of Batman.
Yeah. You mentioned how Omega's design changed a bit. Did Becky's design change at all, or her character concept when you were first crafting her?
Yeah, her design changed quite a bit. Her original outfit looked like something you'd see in typical like Western style comics. Like her outfit even had a midriff. And the thing is, funny thing is, I have a friend. I won't mention her name. She pointed out, it was like, okay, so why does she have a midriff? And I explained to her, I was like, well, I mean, I just kind of base it off of like looking at other superhero designs or whatnot. And she said, it's like, well, yeah, but I'm pretty sure most of those characters are bulletproof, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, so if she's not bulletproof, why would she go in there dressed like a cheerleader, against guys with armed guns? I mean, I feel like she would need more protection than that.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking about it, I was like, you know what? You make a very solid point. So I ended up, changing it, getting rid of the midriff, and giving her sort of a two-piece suit, which is if you look at her design, it's actually composed of two pieces. One is an upper legless leotard, and which goes over leggings, which is,
Mhm.
yeah, it acts like a two-piece suit, which a lot of people get it confused as a whole bodysuit, but no, it's two pieces.
Nice.
And the other changes I made is that her previous outfit was a little darker in terms of her colors. She had darker green, darker, like a little like blacker colors.
Mhm.
But I decided to but recently, I think I started doing this like maybe months ago. I started giving her more vibrant colors to what you see here. I mean, I changed her green to more brighter green. The black in the portions has a more of a bluish tint to it, and even her hair has. If you notice, she has like a brighter tips, like orange tips to it to give it more vibrancy.
Yeah. Yeah. Does she dye her hair at all, or?
No, she's a natural red.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Oh yeah, this guy Apex. All right, so Apex is all right. So his full name is Kevin Hunter, and the pun was intentional, by the way. Yeah,
Yeah.
the last name was intentional. He is 19 years old. He was a former street soldier of the Voodoo Kings, which is a gang in Sapphire City. Uh, let's see. His abilities are evolution and adaptive based abilities. How do I put this? His abilities are a little bit complex to explain. I mean, you could just mark them as as like animal abilities, but to put it simply, he's what would happen if humans had a more predatory nature to them. Like if you take for example with humans, all right? I mean, what let me ask you a quick question. Why are humans on the top of the food chain?
Just because they're smart.
Yeah, because they're smart. But if you were to use that smart, and go, take a bear head on, like I chance with no weapon or anything like that, chances are you're not going to win that fight against a bear. All right.
Mm.
And basically, what Apex is that he's equipped with all the tools you would normally see in an Apex predator: claws, fangs, enhanced abilities, enhanced senses. Basically, he is what a human would be like if it was a super predator.
Nice. Does he have any venom whatsoever or anything like that?
He does not possess venom because the thing about his abilities is that his abilities only, like he only inherits animal traits that would be compatible with a human. Like he can't create parts, he can't create animal parts, that don't exist in humans. Like for
Mm.
example, he can't have gills because, well, we don't have gills. We don't have
Right.
compatibility for gills. He can't grow a tail. He can't grow a tail because we don't have tails. He can't he can't create what we don't have, what the human body doesn't have. He can enhance it or change it. Like for example, he can like for his nails, he can extend them into claws because because we have the capacity for it. But he can't he can't create animal features that just don't exist in humans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. Uh, yeah. So he's not like this 24/7. He could turn back into a normal person.
He can turn back to a normal person as long as he has as long as he's very calm and focused about it. The
Mm-hmm.
problem with him is that he is very short-tempered and gets angry pretty easily, and this ability is connected to his emotions. If he's angry, then his abilities start to sort of surface, unintentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. Did his power kind of like in as a side effect, did it like enhance like the level of rage or emotion he feels, or?
It does play an influence it to increasing his anger. Like he was already short tempered to begin with, but now the abilities sort of make it easier for him to lose. It's hard for him to get it under control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does he have stuff like, say, night vision, so to speak, or?
He does. He can possess night vision if need be. He possesses heightened other senses like sense of smell, really good hearing. But yeah, he can possess night vision if need be, especially if he's forced into a situation where it's completely pitch dark. You know, like how with humans, when you're thrown into a pitch dark, it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to the dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
For him, it's just instantaneous, like almost instantaneous that he can that his powers switch to give him eyes with night vision, and he can see far better than any human can with adjusted, when their eyes are adjusted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does he ever like bump heads with other members of the Sentinel Corps because of this, or?
Um, because of his abilities, because of his short temper, he does, but he does bump into he does bump heads with a lot of members on the team. He's got a really bad attitude problem, and with good reason. He's had a very troubled past
Mm-hmm.
where he's suffered abuse from his parents. He's had to work as a former street soldier for the Voodoo Kings, which made him do things that he's not proud of. But the only two people that he doesn't really butt heads with is his little sister, Tanisha, who is the sole reason for why he is trying to turn over a new leaf, and another member of the team, Aurora, who acts as more of a therapist toward him.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that he does bump heads with them a lot, he still, for the most part, gets along with them when he needs to.
Nice.
Because he's really determined to turn over a new leaf. All right, because he's done some terrible things in the past, and he feels like he let his little sister down. Like he wants to be something his little sister, who was pretty much the only person who actually showed any care towards him or love towards him. He wants to make his little sister proud and feel like becoming a member of the Sentinel Corps is the best way to turning over a new leaf.
Mm-hmm. When he was a Street Fighter, did he have his abilities at the moment, or?
No. He was all human, and he was just a simple street soldier who basically got involved in like shakedowns, drive-bys, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
stuff that his ranking was mainly forced to do.
Nice. Yeah. If you said there was an animal he compared to, is there a specific one? Like, does anyone ever make comments about that or anything? Or
Let's see. I mean, well, if you look at his suit, it kind of resembles more of like a cat, like more of a cat. But
mm-hmm.
I would like to think he resembles more of a primate or a chimpanzee, because you can't see it here, but his hands, his feet are sort of morphed into what looks like another pair of hands, and because of this, he's a lot more agile. He can climb really easily. He's basically like, what's that character from Marvel? Beast, basically.
Oh yeah, without the Kelsey Grammer voice.
Exactly, without the Kelsey Grammer voice.
And of all time. Yeah, sounds good. Next one.
Here we go. This is Devil Cat. She's also another popular character. Her name is Michelle. Yeah, her full name is Michelle Deadly Sweet, and the reason why she has Deadly in there is because she is a current MMA bantamweight champion with a record of 21-0. She is 25. She is the daughter of the former heavyweight boxing champion Paul Sugar Sweet. And basically with her is that she basically grew up in the ring. She grew up in the ring watching her dad fight, and she basically wanted to be just like him. Of course, it's like her dad is kind of against it. Is like, hey, you don't want the boxing life. You don't want the fighter's life. You like get a good education, get a good job, live a good life. And like, despite the fact that he was opposed to this, Michelle, being the stubborn little girl that she was, decided, okay, if you don't want me to be boxing, then I'll just take up MMA. And so, she takes up MMA, and her father begrudgingly, decides, okay, you know what, if you're gonna do this, fine, I guess I'll be your trainer then. So makes a few calls in some friends, and basically teaches her how to be a very great fighter. She's adept in boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, and Krav Maga. But one thing that she's also learned, this is something she learned from her father, is a technique that was the sole reason for his success in the boxing ring. It's a secret technique called Pao Quan. And what it does is that it enhances the user strikes to superhuman levels. So basically, with Devil Cat, at full strength, she could bust down a steel door with just like a kick or a punch. It's like at max strength. But how they use this in the ring is that she can sort of tap into the Pao Quan or enhance her strikes just a little bit to make her punches hit a little harder, to the point where she wins the fight relatively easy against other opponents.
Did you base her father off a particular boxer or anything, or?
You know what? I think I don't know if I based them off a particular one. I think maybe George Foreman, maybe. But yeah, in terms of inspiration behind the boxers, no, I didn't base them on a particular one boxer. It's just the overall study of boxers. Their lifestyle, what they go through, the challenges they go through, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to create, and I just ended up creating what Paul Sugar Sweet is like.
Right.
Basically a boxer who was on top of the world, world champion, but resulted in early retirement.
Yeah. So she does not have any powers the way Atomic Girl has powers.
No. I mean, despite the fact that she can punch at superhuman levels, she's still human. She has no biological powers. The thing with her is that the Pao Quan that I told you about, and the Pao Quan has one really major drawback to using it, is that it wears down the body. It wears down the body really quickly unless you are in peak physical condition. And that's what resulted in Paul and her father's early retirement, because Paul Sugar Sweet, this is something that I learned from like old school boxers. Like these days boxers are ridiculously fit, but back then, boxers, most of their fitness was up in their upper torso for the most part. They weren't 100% peak physical condition, at least at that time. At least they were at that time. But and as such, it forced him to go into early retirement, because it tore into his body too much. Now, Devil Cat, she is in peak physical condition. So as such, when she uses Pao Quan, it doesn't create too much of a strain on her body as it did her father's.
Yeah. It's also like when you compare like their early boxers is like earlier boxers like Muhammad Ali still had like an amount of body fat on them. Now it's just like, we can see where all the veins go. It's like,
yeah. Boxers these days are in peak physical condition, but boxers back then, they weren't as. I mean, they were fit for their time. But unfortunately for the Pao Quan, unfortunately when using the Pao Quan, that kind of fitness and that kind of fit physique wasn't enough to save him from early retirement.
Yeah. Would you say, how much she compares as a fighter to the other Sentinel Corps? Would you say she's like the best martial artist, or
she is the best martial artist? In fact, her role in the Sentinel Corps is not only to be a close quarters fighter in actual combat, but she actually trains the other members in martial arts as well. She trains like Atomic Girl, she trains Miss Mimic, she trains like other members, including Apex and Aurora. Basically, basic martial arts, to help them survive. She also learned. But funny enough, she actually learned Krav Maga from Omega, because it's not usually Krav Maga isn't something that's taught in MMA as far as I know, but but it's definitely taught something similar in the military. So Omega sort of trained her in Krav Maga.
Mm-hmm. Has she ever sparred? I know you said she's trained, but has she ever sparred or had a match with any of the other members of the Sentinel Corps? Or
she spars with them all the time, usually just for practice. But the main people that she spars with is Omega and A Game,
mm-hmm.
which another character you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, she also spars with. She also spars with Crimson Glory, but that's to help her better understand how to take down people who are far stronger than her. Because Devil Cat, despite the fact that she has these superhuman strikes, she's not super, she doesn't have super strength herself. And she does have to face off against opponents who are physically stronger than her. So she has to come up with ways to win, to win the fight, without, relying on overpowering them, which it's not going to happen. She has other methods of defeating opponents who are like 10 times stronger than her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like a lot of the theme when it comes to other members of the team. A lot of times, like especially like the younger characters like Atomic Girl and Miss Ming, they are often the underdogs in a lot of the fights because there's a lot of villains, other characters that are stronger than them. So they have to end up being coming up with alternative ways to win, like being resourceful or being innovative, just basically coming up with ways to use the unorthodox to win a fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I went by this. A friend of mine gave me this simple saying when it comes to characters with superpowers, and this could be for superpowers, superheroes, magic, anything involving superpower, super abilities. Is that it's enough to get them into trouble, but not enough to get them out of trouble.
Let's see. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, does she have any other gear on her, like to help her take down a villain or anything like that?
She doesn't really have any gear on her. What she does have though is that it's in her gloves. She does have metal brass knuckles to enhance her punches.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, she really doesn't have any other equipment that she uses. She just relies mostly on her fighting skills.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
All right, this guy is A Game, and you'd be surprised how many times this guy gets compared to characters like Johnny Cage and Booster Gold. And honestly, it's perfectly understandable why they think that. But yeah, this is A Game. His full name is Mateo Jacinto, I believe. He is 26. He is a Hollywood action star. He's the only member on the team whose identity is known to the public. He's adept in karate, kickboxing, Krav Maga, and judo. And funny thing is, despite the fact that he's often seen as the comic relief or the really comical character, he can hold his own just fine in a fight. In fact, he can hold his own even with Devil Cat. He's often seen as sort of a playboy. He's charismatic, confident, humorous, cunning, self-centered, and arrogant, basically. He became a member as from circumstances because he was originally like I said, he was a movie star and he was originally contracted by Talon Corp to be a sort of a hero to become more popular than the Sentinel Corps. That was their attempt to kind of change public perception of the Sentinel Corps and turn their attention to A Game, who's working for Talon Corp. Because the thing is, here's the thing that's interesting. The Sentinel Corps, despite the fact that they are vigilantes, they are legally vigilantes, and in most cases, in any case, they would be arrested. But because they have such a positive, relation with the people, the people view them positively. Like, hey, these guys are actually helping us. These guys are actually doing a good job. As such, a lot of officially, they're kind of like untouchable sort of a way, like because no politician or policeman is going to arrest these guys when the people are so clearly, loving these people. You know, like it's like okay, like if a politician like says like okay, like these guys are vigilantes, they should be brought to justice. That's not going to be viewed very very well from the people. You know, like these guys are helping us more than you do. So as such, they're kind of untouchable. And A Game was sort of an attempt by Talent Corp to sort of pull some of that public positivity away from them, and onto A Game, and that way that would make them more susceptible to being labeled as criminals.
Mm-hmm.
But it backfired when A Game decided, you know what, I'm going to join the Sentinel Corps instead. I don't know if he did that because he liked how they worked, or maybe he thought that working with them would be better. But it totally blew up in Talon Corp's face when he decided to join the Sentinel Corps team, and as such, now he's a member of the Sentinel Corps team, and he actually works as more of a PR person. You know, like you guys want to make sure that the people are still on your side, and me being a celebrity, I can make sure that they stay on your side. You know.
Now, what tier of celebrity would you say is that? Like A tier or S tier, or
in terms of
like stardom? Like, would you say he's like he can't go outside without getting photographed, or?
Oh, he's definitely A tier.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In fact, yeah, he often has nicknames where he's called the A-lister or the gold standard. Those are some of his nicknames that he's called, during both his superhero gig and his celebrity gig.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now, did he train in martial arts for himself, or was it just for movies and stuff like that, or did he grow up doing it, or?
Mostly for movies. Yeah, mostly for the movies, because he felt like also learning martial arts would be fun. He mostly learned martial arts for fun and for the movies.
Mm-hmm.
No other means to it. But yeah, those were his two main reasons for taking up martial arts.
Yeah, nice. Was anyone on the team a fan of his movies before he came on board, or?
Yes, actually. Takumi is a big fan of his movies.
Nice.
And I'm sure there are a few other members on the team that enjoy some of his movies, but the problem with him is that because of his arrogance and sort of big ego, he's kind of seen as kind of a lot of the other members kind of find him a little bit annoying. I mean, especially Atomic Girl. Atomic Girl finds him extremely annoying, and it's gotten to the point where a lot of people think like Atomic Girl really hates A Game. It's not that she hates him. It's just that she finds him very, very annoying. You know?
Nice.
Yeah, and the two really don't get along.
Oh yeah, cool.
All right. And this right here is Crimson Glory. Her full name is Hannah Miller. She is 40 years old. She's actually the oldest human on the team.
Mm.
All right. And she had an incredible career serving in the U.S. Air Force and NASA. And she spent a lot of space flight missions, up in space, and which resulted in her getting diagnosed with spaceflight osteopenia. Do you know what that is?
What's that?
Basically, it's a real life condition where the bones become more. What's the term I'm looking for? They start to lose mass. Like mass when it comes to bones, they become a little bit more brittle, I suppose, or more. Basically, it loses bone mass to the point where, they have weaker bones, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, she was actually going to be forced into retirement. But she decided to go on one last flight, considered like a last maiden flight or one last flight into space. And sure enough, this last space flight changed her life forever when she was suddenly exposed to an unknown cosmic energy when she was out making repairs on the space station she was on. And this cosmic energy that hit her not only reinforced her bone, not only restored her bone mass, but also reinforced them, made them much more denser to the point where they're almost unbreakable. and it makes her, and not only that, but her muscle mass becomes more denser, and as a result, she gains not only enhanced durability but also enhanced strength. She joined one time when Takumi reached her and recruited her. Takumi also gave her additional armor to wear, and this armor that she's wearing that you see right here weighs almost half a ton. So while it's heavy for anyone else, any normal person, for her it's pretty lightweight because she can lift up to 100 tons basically.
Oh, that's
yeah. So if she can lift 100 tons, like half a ton of armor is no big deal for her. In terms of her personality, she's very organized, very like straightforward, responsible, honest, reliable. But she does have because of this, she's sort of like a authoritarian, stubborn, and flexible and judgmental. She often butts heads with Devil Cat, who is the complete opposite of her, who is more laid back, carefree, sort of, and more impulsive. These two often butt heads all the time, with Devil Cat often saying, and I quote, that Crimson Glory has a stick the size of a flagpole up her ass.
Does she get along with Omega at all?
She and Omega get along for the most part really well together. I mean, they work really well together. She respects Omega's leadership and his military skills, and Omega respects that Crimson Glory is just as capable of a leader too. In fact, it's been made clear that if something were to happen to Omega, then Crimson Glory would take over as second in command.
Nice, very nice.
But yeah, much to Devil Cat's dislike for it, because the two, like I said, the two don't really don't get along at first, because of clashing opinions and personalities. But over time, they start to grow more of an understanding toward each other, to the point where it's more like a frenemy relationship.
Yeah, I get that. It's a fun dynamic. Is her armor just like armor, or is it able to provide anything, or is it just like heavy and durable for her?
It's just heavy and durable for her. It's the point where it can take the shell of a tank. And the thing is, though, it's sort of like a first line of defense when it comes to protecting herself, because the armor, if she were to get hit by something, if the armor doesn't work, then it for the most part, it slows down the impact to the point where it wouldn't hurt her enhanced body already. So in a way, she's got two layers of defense to makes her really hard to hurt.
Very nice.
And the only the really downside to that armor is that, like I said, it's half a ton, so it would not help her that much if she ended up like in a large body of water. She would sink to the bottom and drown if it weren't for the fact that she has an emergency release switch on her suit. Yeah, the emergency release switch can be activated manually or by remote with Takumi if she can't activate it herself. And when activated, the armor releases off of her. All the armor releases off of her, and she's able to move around more freely and without being weighted down.
Very cool.
All right, and this right here is Miss Mimic. All right, and she's the one I told you about earlier with Atomic Girl. This is Atomic Girl's best friend. Her full name is Mandy Song. She is also 16. Also attends the same high school as Becky. The two have been best friends since kindergarten. So they share a lot of interests, including being avid gamers and comic book fans. These two are practically like sisters growing up together. Her ability is photographic reflexes, and if you want a really good comparison of her character, Taskmaster from Marvel would be the perfect example of what photographic reflexes do. In terms of her personality, she's a little different from Atomic Girl. She's reserved, compassionate, empathetic, flexible, just as plucky, but she's also suffers from indecisiveness, overly sensitive, and a little and unrealistic expectations with herself. Basically, she suffers from insecure issues.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. What does she? It. I see she has a bow staff right there. Does she have any other tools to help her to fight? Or
Actually, that bow staff is more than just a bow staff. It is called the Omni Staff, and what that does is that it can be reconfigured into at least 6 or 7 types of weapons that she can use. It can be reconfigured into baton staffs, a spear, a kunai. Basically, yeah, it can be changed into a variety of weapons and tools for her.
Mhm.
She also carries flashlights, little smoke pellets, and also the Omni staff can be converted into a bow for long range. So she also carries a set of compactable arrows that she can use to fight at long range if need to.
Mhm. It's very cool. Are they special arrows like green arrows, or are they just standard
There,
arrows?
there are a couple trick arrows. She has, I believe she has 3 different types of arrows. All right, she
Mhm.
has regular arrows, um, like 1 or 2 explosive arrows, and taser arrows.
Mhm.
And those are really, she doesn't carry like a variety of like trick arrows like any archer characters would, because despite the fact that people think, oh, she's an archer character, and like, no, archery is just one of her tools. She's not technically purely an archer character.
Mhm.
So as such, she doesn't have like the tools, the mass amount of trick arrows needed for an archer character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly in the Omni staff is where she really excels at, because with her photographic reflexes, she can mimic fighting styles and other physical movements that would really be compatible with her staff. She
Uh,
Yeah, for the most part, she is the most. While she's not the best hand to hand fighter, she is the most versatile fighter on the team.
mhm, mhm. Would you say is her outfit influenced by like ninjas at all or anything like that?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if people think that, but I don't. I don't think I influenced her based off of a ninja. I don't. I actually can't even remember what I based her design off of. Like,
Uh,
I
uh,
I think I was just looking through like other superhero designs,
yeah.
and I was like looking, and I thought a lot of them looked pretty cool. Some designs looked cool. I put them together, and it ended up resulting in this in
Mhm.
their outfit you see before you. I think I maybe added some ninja elements to it, but I honestly, when we created that design for her, uh, I honestly don't. It was a long time ago. I honestly don't remember what I inspired her costume from.
uh, yeah. Does she have the same favorite superhero as Becky, or?
She has she does enjoy Red Wolf like Becky does, but she also has other favorite different superheroes as well, and she also likes anime a little more than Becky does.
Nice, nice. Uh,
All right, now this one right here, this is Wuhan. He is the resident alien on the team. His name is Wuhan. All right, he's 68 years old in terms of Earth years. It's a little different in terms of
mhm,
actual Varanian years. That's the name of his species. He's a Varanian. His home planet is Drukarius. His clan name is Han, and that's part of his name. You see, when it comes to the Varanians, they are divided into clans, and their names are part of the clan name is part of their name. So Vu is his individual name. Han is his clan name. So as such, it's one whole name, Vu Han, but with two different meanings in it.
nice.
All right.
How? Oh, I was gonna say how. What would his equivalent of like what would his human age be if like say like if 5 years like from dog years to like human years like how old is Wuhan by his people standards?
Right. So age-wise, in terms of Earth years, he's 68. But in his years, he would be in his 20s.
Okay. Yeah. How did he get to Earth?
He got to Earth because, all right. So let's start by going back that he serves as an officer of the Interplanetary Space Force, which is a police force that works for this galactic organization called the UGG, which is literally just stands for United Galactic Government. We're going to be workshopping that name too, but this is just what we got for now. Yeah, United Galactic Government, which it's a widespread galactic-wide government, which encompasses thousands of planets with many species. Think of like the Republic from Star Wars, basically.
Right.
Yeah, he serves as sort of like a police force for it. His species, Varanians, they are a warrior-like tribe, and when the UGG tried to get them to join their government, the Varanians refused. Like, hey, this is our planet. You have no business on this planet. But the UGG did not quit, and they were persistent, and they ended up resulting in a war against each other, for which the UGG won. But the UGG was so impressed with Varanians, with how they fought and their fighting spirit, that they decided, okay, we're not going to wipe these guys out, but instead we're going to assimilate them into us. We're going to indoctrinate them into our culture. We're going to basically make good use of their fighting skills. So as a result, the Varanians were enlisted into the military and into the police force because of their expert fighting and tracking skills as both warriors and hunters. So Wuhan once he became of age, he was enlisted into, because of his skills, he was determined to be enlisted into the police force. And as such, he led a really good career as being a police officer, despite the fact that he hated the UGG. He still did his job, and he ended up pursuing this criminal that he's been chasing for a while, named Jodak. And Jodak is a bit of a shapeshifter. He's a shapeshifter, a really skilled shapeshifter criminal. But the thing is, Jodak's skills made him get away from a crime, get away from the justice a lot because of his shapeshifting skills. Because there was no way that the Space Force had any means of finding him because of his shapeshifter. But thanks to Wuhan and his enhanced senses, they were able to track him down. Now, while Jodak was on the run, Wuhan ended up pursuing him, and Jodak ended up crash landing on Earth, and Wuhan followed him to Earth. And as such, Wuhan is such, pretty much, he can leave when he wants to, but he is determined to catch Jodak. So he's not leaving Earth until he catches Jodak. And as a result, he sort of starts to befriend, events lead to him befriending the Sentinel Corps and sort of joining them as a part-timer. Like, okay, I'll help you guys. He kind of sees the Sentinel Corps as like kindred spirits. So he joins them, part-time, and while at the same time also conducting his own investigation to find Jodak. So, but his story arc is that while he's on Earth, he's sort of trying to adjust and learn to human and Earth customs. He's like a fish out of water sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah. He loves the culinary food there, but the problem is he does tend to get into a little bit of trouble. Like for example, people notice that pets go missing.
Yeah.
Or with people at the zoo is like, hey, have you noticed that there seems to be a missing animal here? It was like, I noticed we've been starting to missing a few animals here, and that results in Wuhan's predatory nature. So he's trying to adjust to it and learn. Okay, there's some things that I can eat, and there's some things I can't eat. In terms of his personality, he's very loyal. He's very loyal to the team. He's very loyal. He's honorable. Because of his warrior culture, he respects honor. He's also altruistic, and he's dead focused. Like I said, he has difficulty with change and boundary issues.
are you planning on having him like leave Earth at all, or stay there? Like, is he ever going to leave Earth, or?
He's sort of torn on it because initially when he landed on Earth, he really didn't care much for it. Like he didn't want to stay there any longer than he had to. But over time, Earth starts to grow on him, and the people start to grow on him, and so he's sort of divided on where his loyalty, where his loyalties lie. Should
Mhm.
he return? Like, should he return to his home planet, Dracarys, go back to the UGG that he hated so much, which probably not, or stay on Earth where he feels starting to feel more at home.
Nice. Yeah. Oh yeah. Is there a specific kind of pet or animal that he really likes? Is this like an elf situation where he really likes cats?
The thing about him is that he's not a picky eater. His species, they'll whatever he can catch, like he'll eat whatever he can catch. So it doesn't really matter as long as it's like a living animal, he'll eat it.
Nice.
The thing is though, although he does have a dislike for primates. He doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's not that he can't eat primates; it's that he just doesn't like them that much. Like he has his own personal preferences, and that's a good thing because he's literally living on a planet full of primates.
Right. Does he have any like abilities similar that like any other reptiles on Earth would have, or like venom or camouflage or anything like that?
His species does share a lot of resemblance and traits that you would see in Earth lizards. Like in Wuhan's case, like his species in general resembles more like a Komodo dragon or a monitor lizard. And with him, he has like enhanced strength. He can move really fast. He has incredible senses to the point where like the best senses on the team, where he could stick out his forked tongue and pick up particles in the air. He has he has very good vision. Let's see. And and I haven't revealed this too much, or I haven't shown it too much, but he also shares the same tendency with Komodo dragons, in which his bite can be venomous.
Yeah. Nice.
And he also shares the same trait with lizards, where if they lose if his tail can be removed and it can grow back.
Is it just his tail, or could he regrow an arm? Or
he can regrow an arm, but not through his natural abilities. It's because of the modern medicine that the advanced medicine that he carries. It's like
very cool.
Some of his species can regrow limbs. Like characters that are like more related to like salamanders or whatnot. But he's a monitor lizard, so yeah. But he's more resembling to a monitor lizard, so he can't really regrow his limbs, just his tail.
Nice. What do you know? Does he have a size range, like a height and a weight?
He weighs, in terms of his weight, I believe he weighs almost like 500 pounds. And he's about 9 feet, like 9 feet tall.
Nice. Right.
But yeah, he's 9 feet tall if he completely stands up straight, like completely straight. But for the most part, when he's mostly hunched over, a lot, so he looks more like he's 7 feet tall.
Yeah. Does he get along with Apex at all, or do they clash heads because they're two animals?
The thing about Wuhan is that despite the fact that he kind of butts heads with him, it's more like a mentoring thing, because he sees Apex, who's trying to like control his animalistic instincts, and Wuhan is like he's basically teaching him is like you can't control them. You can't like suppress them or control your animal instincts. You gotta like basically be part. You gotta accept it and aim it. It's like you can't deny who you are. So Wuhan's sort of like trying to mentor him to don't be afraid of that part of you, accept it. But he does clash heads with Aurora, who Aurora is sort of like Apex's therapist. So Aurora is trying to teach him how to suppress his emotions while Wuhan is trying to teach him to unleash his emotions. So as such, the two kind of butt heads on that.
Nice. Very nice. Wait. There we go. Aurora.
Yep, this is Aurora, and her full name is Kala Sande. She's 30 years old, works as a high school counselor, and because of her experience as a counselor, she often provides therapy for the team. Like she kind of acts as the team's therapist if need be. She's lived in India during her childhood. Her ability is called the aura effect, and this is a really interesting ability where it's linked to her emotional state. What happens is that she emits an aura, but this aura can come in different colors and effects depending on her emotional state. For example, her most common aura is violet, and it's linked to her confidence. So it maxes more of the more offensive aura. So the more confident she is, the more powerful the aura is. Other auras include the red aura, which is linked to her anger, and this aura is like her most powerful aura, but it's also the one that's most uncontrollable, and it's the one she's afraid of the most. With that aura, it has a burning effect. Like, it's not fire, but it burns it burns just like fire, and it also enhances her strength, her physical strength slightly, and her pain tolerance.
Very nice. What did you? Is this based in like a certain myth or religion, or is it more of just a theory of color?
More of I based it off of the theory of color, really. Like when I looked at the emotional spectrum and color theory, I sort of just based it off of that, and sort of come up with abilities that kind of resemble that emotion. Like, for example, with red, it resembles rage, and when it comes to giving her enhanced strength and pain tolerance, that's usually some side effects to when you're in a complete rage, when you're completely unhinged. And she has another aura, which is green, which it represents envy, which, you get the phrase green with envy. And her ability and the green aura has sort of like a lightning feel to it. It acts more like an electrical feel to it. And that one I actually got that idea from anime, actually. Because if you notice, like, a lot of scenes where there's like characters who get jealous, you often see like sparks coming out of them in those scenes.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm gonna base it off of that and give her lightning abilities, give that aura lightning abilities. So yeah, it really depends on her emotional state that determines the type of color and effect that the aura she emits has. And in terms of her personality, she is very calm. She's very sensitive, empathic, compassionate, very nurturing. She's kind of like the mother of the team. She's kind of like the mother of the team. She acts really motherly towards the team, very compassionate, very gentle. But because of her fear of this, of the aura effect, because the aura effect, she is yet to really properly control it, and as such, she's very, very afraid of showing her emotions, because she's afraid if she shows her emotions, then the aura is going to get released and accidentally hurt someone, or worse. So as a result, she's more reserved. She avoids conflict, and she's rather insecure of herself.
Nice. Does she? You mentioned she serves as somewhat of the group counselor or therapist. There, does she get along with every member of the Sentinel Corps?
For the most part, she gets along with everyone there, and she even gets along with A-Game, which like a lot of people find, a lot of the members find him a bit annoying, but she finds him funny. The only one that she doesn't really get along with, and this might not be saying, it's more like a disagreement, is what I mentioned earlier with Wuhan in terms of how Apex should handle his abilities. That's really the only issue she has with one of the members of the team. For the most part, she's very compassionate and very friendly with most of the team. She's kind of like the heart and soul of the team.
Nice. Uh, are there any emotions that like are hard for her to access, or like colors like that that's hard for her to access, or?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that most of her emotions are kind of hard to access, except for confidence is her most easiest one to
Hmm.
access. The other ones are a little hard to like access at the moment because I mean, like if I were to ask you, like, if I were to ask you, could you get angry right now? Would you?
Probably not.
Or would you? Or if I asked you, could you legit be sad right now? Could you do that right now?
Probably not.
Exactly. So it's the same with her. Like she can't force herself to be angry. She can't force herself to be sad to get that different type of aura at the moment. It's based off of instinct that right now. It's like based
Mhm.
off of her emotional state. Like just circumstances. Like if something happens that makes her angry, then yeah, the aura is released. But she can't say, "Oh, I want this red aura. I can't. I got to get myself angry, but I don't know
Mhm.
what to be angry about."
It's great.
So the confidence one is the easiest one for her to access.
Yeah. When did she move to America?
She moved to America when she was a kid. I'd say when she was like maybe uh 10, like 8, 9 or 10 around that age. And
Okay.
and the reason she moved to America was due to the fact that she how do I put this? She caused an incident back in her hometown where and back in her hometown, you got to remember she was born with this ability. She doesn't know where it came from. No one knows where it came from. But the thing is, she was treated as a sort of like a monster, treated like
Hmm.
a witch there, and as such, she was deeply persecuted. She was often ridiculed, hated by everyone there. I mean, her parents loved her, but yeah, they could only do so much against the entire village. Um, and that she often got harassed. It got to the point where the whole village decided to, well, not the whole village, but a good, like some villagers actually abducted them during the middle of the night, from the middle of the night, and actually intended to burn them like witches.
Mm.
Um, and the thing is, they were going to burn the parents first and make Aurora watch. And as a result, Aurora became so angry that it released the red aura, and she basically incinerated the entire crowd except her parents. Um, she of course did this. Of course, this was unintentional. She didn't mean to do this, but but her parents felt that she was no longer safe there in that hometown. So they sent her to America to live with her uncle. And as such, she spent the
Hmm.
she spent the most of her life there in America, growing up with her uncle.
Very nice.
All right, so these are supporting characters. Some of them are other superheroes, and others are just allies of the superheroes. We got Warp Zone. He is at Warp Zone. He is a second gen Inhuman, which we'll get to that later.
Hmm.
Who has the ability to teleport? Uh, yeah, and then we have Artifacts. She is also she's a first generation Inhuman alongside like Atomic Girl and Miss Mimic. She has elastic abilities similar to what you see with like Reed Richards or Elastic Girl, that sort of thing. She is often she's actually one of the more popular characters, I think, because she's super relatable.
Hmm.
Although I'm pretty sure the elastic thing also helps too.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there's also oh shoot, I forgot to put her name there, but that is Officer Lopez right there. I forgot to put Lopez there.
Ah.
I don't know why I missed that. But anyway, yeah, that is Officer Lopez. She sort of serves as a liaison for the Sentinel Corps and the police department.
Hmm.
Uh, she like a lot of the officers at that time when the Sentinel Corps first appeared, she didn't really trust them. Like they're vigilantes. They can't be taking the law in their hands, so she didn't trust them at first. But when she started working with them due to circumstances, and she started to trust. Yeah, she started to trust them, slowly trust them, and build a relationship to the point where she helps them out and they help her out.
Nice. Yeah. How old is she?
Uh,
She.
she She's in her late 20s.
Okay. If the most, or like she has the best trust with.
She's the.
I said, is there a hero she trusts?
Oh, who she trusts the most?
Yeah.
She trusts Omega. Yeah, she trusts Omega the most. I mean, she feels like she gets along with Omega the most because of his. She gets how do I put this? She gets along with the more serious characters. She gets along with Omega. She gets along with Crimson Glory because for the most part they're kind of like they kind of follow the rules a little bit better. She does not get along with A Game, or with Devil Cat. Because of their egos. The two are often clashing. They often clash with each other. Not to mention, A Game is constantly trying to hit on her.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, yep. There we go.
All right. So these are some of the villain characters that the Sentinel Corps will face. All right. There's a lot more of them, but these are some of the few that I picked. All right. First up, this is one of my favorite villains, Catalyst. You see on the far left. He is known as the Psychotic Alchemist. He is also an Inhuman who performs, and he's sort of like the Mad Doctor, like a mad scientist. He performs terrible Inhuman experiments on unwilling test subjects. He has the ability to secrete chemicals, to create chemicals in his body and secrete them from his body. So he can create things like gases or acids. Basically, it makes him. He's basically a living chem lab, basically a chemistry lab.
Yeah, so similar abilities, somewhat like Becky, but like more horrific.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, he kind of represents Atomic Girl's like dark side in a way. Like the darker side of Atomic Girl's abilities. He is the one that Atomic Girl fears the most. Because of because of an incident that occurs when she first meets Catalyst. She's sort of Catalyst is sort of like I don't know if you heard this term before in comics. She is Catalyst is Atomic Girl's Nightfall, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Worst of it. Is there a voice you imagine for Catalyst at all, like a voice actor or anything like that, or?
I get this a lot, and I gotta say, I gotta pick Jeffrey Combs, man. I always imagine Jeffrey Combs' voice being a Catalyst. Another villain we got is on the next one is Emperor Ragnos, and he is the emperor of the New Roman Empire, which you'll see in another slide. It's a fictional empire that exists in the Sentinel Corps universe, where it resides in Italy. It serves. Yeah, he's sort of like he's an idealist who wants to change the world in his vision. He sees the world as a corrupt world that needs to be changed drastically, either through by military means if necessary. If I wanted to compare him to a character, I would say what was the name of that character from The Watchmen? The one who
Ozymandias?
Yeah, him. Yeah, Ozymandias. Yeah, that'd be a good comparison. A lot of people compare him to Doctor Doom, but I think he's more like Ozymandias. Where he's the kind of villain where you think, okay, is he truly the villain though? That's sort of raising a question, sort of. And then we have any questions about him or?
Oh, well, more about his empire, but we can get on that on the next slide.
Right. Now we have Cassandra Talon. She is the CEO of Talon Corp. And I mentioned Talon Corp earlier. She took over the company from her father years ago. And she's the reason that she turned it into a mega corporation that it is today. She is ambitious, she's cunning, and she's cutthroat. She's not afraid to do what it takes to to really raise the company even higher in the corporate ladder.
Yeah. Is her father still alive, or
her father passed away? not due to and no, it wasn't a result of murder or anything. Like she didn't kill him or anything, but he was getting up there in ages, so he just died of natural causes.
How old is she?
She is one. Yeah, she is also in her late 20s. She is one of the youngest CEOs in the Sentinel Corps universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she's in her late 20s. I'd say like 28, 29, roughly.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. How, like, would you say Talon Corp is just like Amazon, or?
You could say like Amazon. It's basically like Amazon, or if you want to make a comic book comparison, like LexCorp maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, her company is one of the top companies in the Sentinel Corps universe, and it is basically it's the top company in Sapphire City. To the point where it pretty much runs the city. There's not many products in Sapphire City that wasn't made by Talon Corp.
Nice.
All right, and on the far right we have Dr. Nebula. Dr. Nebula, I think I mentioned to you earlier. He is the villain that attacked Talon Corp. That resulted in the Nebula incident, which resulted in creating the first wave of Inhumans. He has the ability to master gravity, to manipulate gravity, but it's not a superpower. It's the gravity gauntlet that he uses.
Oh.
Yeah. His intent was to bring down Talon Corp because he faced a horrible injustice due to Talon Corp, and he wanted retribution against them. So his plan was to use the gravity gauntlet to bring down the entire Talon Corp headquarters and basically kill everyone in there as a sort of retribution. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, that plan didn't work because Omega came in and thwarted his attempts and during the battle, it resulted in a lot of collateral damage, which I told you before resulted in the Inhumans and the gas being released. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, is Nebula like his actual last name, or?
Oh no, that's actually a name that the media picked for him. Yeah, a lot of times when it comes to the names of the villains or whatnot, or even some of the heroes, they often don't pick the name themselves. It's often given to them by the media, and they just think, okay, I guess this is my name. I'll just take it.
Nice. Yeah. Is there anything wrong with his face or anything in particular, or is it just a mask?
It's just there's nothing wrong with his face per se, but the mask actually is linked to the gravity gauntlet because the gravity gauntlet it targets the helmet has sort of like a system where he can look at an object that he wants to manipulate, and the gauntlet does the rest. Basically, yeah, the helmet is linked to the gauntlet to the point where he needs to visually see what an object that he wants to manipulate the gravity with. So as such, he can't manipulate something that he can't see.
Right. Next slide.
All right. So here's a little bit of settings. Sapphire City, Sapphire City is a parody of Seattle, and the reason why it's like that for two reasons. One, it's because I live near Seattle. I live in, and I figure, okay, it's the closest thing to a big city I can think of. So because I'm right next to that city, I can go there. I can do my research. I can look around, look at the buildings. Just basically study the layout of Seattle. And another reason why I picked Seattle is because I felt like it's not really used that much as a big city setting. Like most of the time when I look at comics or whatnot, most of the time you see is New York City.
Right. Or yeah, with that, but like only time I really think of Seattle is Frasier.
Yeah, pretty much. So I figured, you know what? I'm gonna give Seattle for the comic. I'm gonna make Seattle and give it some spotlight. Give it some attention. So I decided to base it off of Sapphire City, off of Seattle, and because I feel like Seattle is a lot more colorful. Like it's a lot more varied. Very cultural. It has a different sort of cultural theme to it than other cities. It's a port city, And I thought, okay, you know what? I feel like this is a really good setting for Sapphire City.
Nice.
And it's even in the name too with Sapphire City. It's actually a parody because a nickname that Seattle has is called Emerald City. So it went with, okay, well, we'll just change it to Sapphire City.
Yeah. Are other cities like in this world, are they somewhat based off American cities but have different names? Like, is there a Chicago, or is there like something else? Or
Oddly enough, there are others. Yeah, the other cities are the same, as they are in the real world. I mean, the only thing that's changed about it is two things. What's happened in Italy with the new Roman Empire, and there's different and the names of different cities in the Washington state.
yeah.
All right, and this is another little bit of world building.
Stat book.
Yeah. I decided. Yeah, one of the things we have is a lot of fun with it is coming up with these parody brands and companies, basically to add some more lore and detail to it. Like we got different names like Polar, Bushido, and the name and the mascot for Becky's high school is the Summerfield Sharks. Yeah, and Cosmic Creations, the very company that Takumi founded. And yeah, you got Snapbook, Shen Enterprises, Komodo, and this one's one of my favorites, Battle Beasts, which is basically a parody of Pokemon.
Nice.
And yeah, you see these a lot in some of the artwork I've made, and you'll probably see them in the comics. But this is just to add a little bit more detail to the settings, add a little bit more lore to it.
Do superheroes in universe get branding, or?
Yeah, A game. Well, are you talking like a
sponsorship, like a sports guy?
A game does. A game certainly does. In fact, you didn't see it on his jacket in the portrait I saw, but he actually has patches or like logos on his jacket that represent his sponsorships. But in terms of like actual branding for the superheroes themselves, they don't really. Only A game really gets involved with like branding, like brands and companies, and the other superheroes tend to stay out of it. Like we're not doing this for fame. We don't want to be part of some like franchise or companies. Just keep us out of it. But A game gets involved in it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember BoJack Horseman had they had the Hollywood sign for like a day, but then they changed it. They even made a plot point of like the D getting removed, and that's because when you have the Hollywood sign in the TV show, you have to pay a certain amount of money to the Hollywood people. So they just
that's actually one of the also the reasons why we went with parodies. We just don't want to get into any like legal trouble.
Yeah, especially luckily there's no heartfelt mouse with 100 years of animated history out here that could sue you. So
exactly, and like I said, and most of these logos here, like I said, I up until recently I wasn't really good with making logos, and these logos here were made by most of these logos were made by a good friend Kato. He was really good at making these logos.
Does he use Blender?
I don't know. I think he uses Clip Studio. I'm not too sure.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I said, shout out to Kato for making these really awesome, really awesome logos. If you guys are looking for logos, hit him up on DeviantArt. I'm sure he'd be happy to help.
Nice.
All right, so this is right here as I was talking about the new Roman Empire. So not only are there a few like changes in terms of the cities and like parody and logos, but there's also a little bit of an altered history change to it. This right here is the new Roman Empire. It was formed in 1921, and sort of similar to how Mussolini tried to made it into like a dictatorship, but Mussolini wasn't involved in this one. This was this one was formed by Emperor Ragnos's grandfather, who founded it. He founded the empire in the hopes of restoring Italy to greatness. Back to how it was with the Roman Empire, similar to Mussolini's ideals. But let's see. They joined the Axis powers in World War II. So they fought in World War II, and unlike World War II in our history, where the Germans were like the main force of the Axis powers, it was actually the New Roman Empire that was the main force, like the big, like the big dogs in the Axis powers. They fought, and as such, they fought in World War II, and they fought well, but in the end, they still lost. But the only difference was, instead of a total surrender, the New Roman Empire fought bitterly and bravely. They kept fighting to the very end, to the point where these got to the point where the Western powers decided, these guys aren't going to give up. All right, we need to come up with a compromise. So they instead split Italy in half. You got one where it's the New Roman Empire. You can see on the map on the south part, you got the New Roman Empire, and on the top right, you have the Italian Republic that we know of today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you say it's done? Is there like any civil wars in Italy because of this, or?
Well, this is sort of similar to like how events are with terms of like North Korea and South Korea. There's growing tensions between the two. They have a strong dislike for each other, and but they're not fighting each other. I'm sure they're looking for a reason to fight. And the New Roman Empire is definitely looking for a reason to start a fight with them. But the New Roman Empire, the thing is, they could easily win a war against the Italian Republic because they are technologically advanced, decades ahead of most other countries, with a far stronger army. They could easily win the fight. But the reason they don't is because the Italian Republic has something that they don't have, with the New Roman Empire doesn't have, and that is very powerful friends and allies. They have the U.S., the UN, and which is basically saying, okay, New Roman Empire, if you attack the Italian Republic, we're going to jump in too. All right, so you might take them on, but we'll jump in if we have to. So as such, the New Roman Empire is just sort of like, okay, we need to rethink how we can handle this. So Emperor Ragnos is trying to come up with a plan to sort of take over and sort of like become the new leader of the world power. He's trying to figure out how to win a war against these top world powers.
How old is Emperor Ragu now? Right? Yeah. Sorry, Ragnar. I said that I heard it. And I went, oh no.
Yeah, Ragno is roughly in his 60s, I believe. 60s, early 60s. He's getting up there in age, but he adopted he took over the throne after his father passed away, and he's become a very great leader to the New Roman Empire. Normally when you think of like an emperor, you think of a dictator. Like a really, like in terms of comics, you think of it like an evil dictator or whatnot. But that's not really the case with Ragno. He's actually beloved by his people because he brought them out of depression from the World War. He gave them, he found a way to get them advanced technology, medical care, education. Basically. Yeah, basically, he's like the great leader to them, and he hasn't, and other than enforcing his will, from time to time, make sure you follow the rules. Otherwise, people who under the Roman Empire love his reign. But of course, he doesn't make many friends with other governments because they don't like the idea of a dictator.
Mind if we move on to the next slide?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So this right here is a slide about Inhumans, and Inhumans is a term, or short for enhanced human, is a term used to identify those with superpowers. Like in DC, you got metahumans and all that stuff. I decided went with enhanced humans. Like I said, it's a term used to identify those superpowers caused by exposure of an unknown chemical gas. Despite the fact that that they're Inhumans, there are actually 4 categories of Inhumans, and only 3 of them can really be called Inhumans. Like, for example, you got Gen 1, which is the first Inhumans created during the Nebula incident. Example, Atomic Girl, Miss Mimic, and Catalyst. You have the Generation 2, which are the second wave of Inhumans created during the Catalyst incident, which occurs later on in the story, which is Warp Zone, examples like Warp Zone, Rye, and Wildfire. And then you have the artificial Inhumans. When the Inhumans, and these Inhumans, while they're technically Inhumans, they were created with a combination of the gas and technological enhancements. Basic like implants. These are basically trained to be like kind of super soldiers sort of thing. Examples include Bologna, which is a superhero that works for the New Roman Empire, and Project 1818, or Frank. He's like a monster that was created by Catalyst. And then you have the NGS, which are non-gas related superhumans. That these guys are technically not Inhumans, but they were enhanced through extraordinary circumstances or experimentations. So basically, they got their powers through different means other than the gas. Like Omega, Crimson Glory, and Void. They got their powers through different circumstances. So a lot of people mistake them for Inhumans, but technically they're not.
Would you say, is there I know they get their powers differently, but like, is there like a difference in how it's their power, like pattern of powers when it comes to different gens, or like is one more superior to the other, or their benefits or trade-offs for it?
Well, there's when it comes to the Gen 1 and Gen 2, they've yet to find out if there's any real differences between the Gen 1 and Gen 2. It's still unclear whether the Gen 2 are stronger than the Gen 1. That's yet to be determined. As for the artificial Inhumans, they are just as strong as normal Inhumans, but with their enhancements, they could possibly make them stronger. As for the NGS, while they have powers as well, sometimes their powers can be a little bit more varied. Like, for example, sometimes they can have additional powers, or sometimes, or one main thing is that they don't have the same weaknesses as Inhumans do, because when Inhumans, during the study of Inhumans, some companies actually created a suppressor for Inhumans to sort of suppress their powers. But that only works on Inhumans that were affected by the gas. As such, it wouldn't work on NGS characters, like Omega. If you were to inject them with that suppressor, it wouldn't work on Omega, because he didn't get it from the gas.
Right. Has any Inhuman had a child yet, and seen what that's produced, or?
That hasn't been revealed yet, and I've had people ask me, "Is like, oh, can the Inhuman powers be passed down? Hereditary?" And that hasn't been shown yet, and it hasn't been revealed yet whether or not they get their powers through hereditary means.
Nice. Has there already been any major signs of dangers to being a Gen Human, or is the lifespan the same, or is it enhanced, or too early to tell?
It really depends on the power itself. Like, take for example, there's an Inhuman named Shard. All right, her ability is that her body generates diamond or crystal, from her actual body. And while it seems cool, the fact she has a hard time controlling it, and if she's not careful, the crystal could actually cover her entire body, including her nose and mouth, and suffocate her. So it really depends on the power itself. The power can be good, but it can also be very dangerous. It can be just as dangerous to the user as it is for the people they use it on.
Right. Do you have a favorite kind of what do you lean towards more when it comes to writing? When it comes to, do you like prefer to write for Gen 1 or Gen 2 or artificial Inhumans? Like, which one do you have fun with?
I actually have fun with the Inhumans themselves. Well, just the both Gen 1 and Gen 2. I mean, I feel like the Inhumans, I feel like the Inhumans themselves, you can be a little bit more like a lot very creative with them. You know, like I feel like you brainstorm them a lot, because the thing about the Gen Humans is that they have the Inhumans, they have certain rules to them. They only have one power. You can only give them one power, and the thing about that one power is that I like to give them power where it's like the power is flexible. Like for example, like if you give a character fire powers, you know, you could probably name 100 characters out there in fiction with fire powers. Like yeah, because it's such a generic power. But you see what people see with generic powers, I see as very flexible powers. You know, like it's a fire power, but you can kind of mold it into a different style that's unique to the character. Like for example, like as if you look at a lot of very firepower characters, they kind of have their own unique style to how they use their fire powers. It's sort of like comparing Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four, how he uses fire powers, to like Ace from One Piece. You know?
Yeah. Ace is more of a thing where like he physically can't become it, and like it's more like Johnny enraptures himself in flames.
You know, like just a different style. You know, you when you take generic powers, you can mold it into like your own unique style to it, and that's what I like about the Inhumans. It limitations gives you more of a challenge to create something different. You know?
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of the show. I haven't watched too much of it, but in Fire Force, it was really cool how the character couldn't really fly, but they just like put heat on the end of their feet just to like propel them, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Next.
All right, now
magic.
This one, this is one thing that's different when it comes to the Sentinel Corps universe that's separate from superheroes. Is that I keep magic separate from the superhero storyline. There's two storylines in the Sentinel Corps universe that share the same universe but don't interact with each other that much. That's the superheroes and the magical underworld, as I call it. And like I said, they share the same universe but they don't interact. It's a pair. And the thing that's interesting about this, and this is sort of like a side story that will occur in the future, most likely, but in the Sentinel Corps universe, all there's these creatures, this race known as the Dinger. All right, the Dinger crossed over into our own dimension and brought with them their knowledge and magic. They're sort of like interdimensional immigrants, basically, and they crossed over into our world thousands and thousands of years ago. All right, and as a result, the Dinger. Most myths and folklores were inspired by human interaction with the Dinger. So stories of devils and fairies and all kinds of spirits that you see in myth and folklore was actually inspired by these creatures, by these beings that crossed over.
Nice. And that has these certain magical characters down below. Are they specifically those stories from way back when, or are they just kind of the modern, more reinterpretation of them?
These are the more modern iterations of them, because you see a lot of the creatures that inspired those stories, you know, of the myth and folklore, they've died out because they age and die just like humans do. All right, most of these characters here, except for the one in the suit, Zeke. The one with the mask and whatnot, they are more like their predecessors, their descendants, basically. And as a result, these descendants, they have assimilated into human culture. Like you can tell, like the fairy, despite the fact that she's a fairy, she wears more modern clothes. You know, a lot of these characters, they wear more modern clothes because they assimilated into human culture. This was actually this was a necessity. Because this was to hide from humans out of fear for persecution. Despite the fact that it's that they've assimilated into human culture, they still hide from humans, of course. it's sort of like the hidden, like the world of Harry Potter, like they hide in plain sight, or they have like ways to like avoid humans. They have their own little magical world, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or like the Dresden Files, I think.
Oh yeah. It's more of a modernish, like American take on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned how they hide from the modern world. I'm guessing these characters aren't going to interact as much with the superhero world.
No, they don't. They're not going to interact with the superhero world. In fact, rarely, if all. There might be some. There might be some mentions of the superheroes in the magical underworld, just like mentioning through dialogue or whatnot. But for the most part, they're not going to interact.
Yeah, and do any superheroes have any knowledge of magical weapons or items?
No, the superheroes are not aware of magic. They don't even know that magic exists. And for the most part, they're going to remain unaware of that. There are characters who are sort of like heroes. Like, say, for example, on the far right, you got Beowulf, who is one of the few humans that are aware of magic in the world, and they've sort of learned how to become part of that magical world. You got characters like Eric, who's also like sort of like a magic hunter, like a magic investigator, who is also familiar with the magical world. There aren't that many humans who are aware of the magical world, and when they become aware of it, they often find themselves getting involved in that magical world.
Is the pixie on the left pixie sized or human sized?
Pixie sized.
Okay.
She's about the size. She's about the size of. I think if I had to guess, I'd say she's about like 4 or 5 inches tall.
Okay. Yeah, standard Tinkerbell kind of build. That's very cool. Do you have any plans with Zeke in the future as your main antagonist in this?
Zeke is the main antagonist of the story. He's the sort of like the inspiration behind many of the evil spirits, like Set, the devil, Satan, Lucifer, all those dark and evil entities throughout myth and legend and religion were all mostly inspired by Zeke over the ages, because he has lived on Earth for thousands and thousands of years and has spent most of his time manipulating human lives and governments just out of like sheer joy, basically, out of amusement, basically. And the thing about Zeke is that nowadays he runs a nightclub. He runs sort of a jazz club, just because the fact that he's kind of semi-retired from being the whole evil being. He's sort of semi-retired or kind of bored with it, because he's sort of like a character. He's sort of like a guy who's beaten a video game multiple times. He's beaten it all. Like, what? Yeah, what's the point now? Why do I don't feel like playing this game anymore?
Yeah. We ever? Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, would we ever get like a Yu Yu Hakusho kind of thing where we travel to the world where they're from, or anything like that, or is it mostly going to stay on Earth?
It's going to stay on Earth, because the thing is, when the Dinjir crossed over, they crossed over because their world was dying. All right, they crossed over because their world was dying, and they created a portal for like their last ditch effort to find a better life in another dimension, because they weren't going to survive in that dying world they were living in. So for the most part, all the events are going to be taking place on Earth.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Oh, you have 5 issues completed. Tell me, where can people find these 5 issues?
Well, we're still working on that. We've been having some talks with my co-writer about where we're going to post these. You can find issue 1 free to read on Webtoons. That one's free to read. And as for the other ones, we are debating where to put those. Because one thing I learned with Webtoons is that it is a pain in the butt to reconfigure into a Webtoon. To the proper size. needed for it. So we figured, okay, it took a lot of time and effort just to get issue 1 on there. I am not doing the other 4. So we're trying to think of other sites to post these on, and then we're going to think of a different process for how we're going to start releasing these comics. So, like I said, still up in the air, but we are intending to release these sometime soon.
Yeah. I read your thing on Webtoons, and I've tried to get more to Webtoons, but it's just I'm so not used to going down when it comes to reading for comics.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, like I said, we're still looking into other ways we can post it.
Do you have a Twitter you could share?
Yeah. Hang on a second. Okay, so I do have sites that you can go to. You can go to. We have it on Deviant. You can see. I think you got it on one of the slides.
Oh, sorry. I just shared Twitter. Oh, there. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah, you can find us on DeviantArt. You can find us on Twitter/X. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and the first issue is free to read on Webtoon.
Are you planning on ever selling like stickers of the Sentinel Corps?
That's one thing we have planned. One of these plans that we have is that we want to see if we can get this stuff on as a booth at a Comic-Con that occurs over in Seattle. That's one of the things that we want to do. And it's something that we have planned. We just don't know when, but we do plan to make stickers and pins and all kinds of fun little merchandise of the Sentinel Corps characters.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, it looks very cute. Stuff to pull out back of your phone, even. Do you have anything else you want to share? Talk about?
Let's see. That's pretty much all I can think of when it comes to it. Yeah, just feel free to follow us on these on these social platforms. Keep catch up on Sentinel Corps on the Sentinel Corps lore, so you'll know what's going on when the comic hits. But yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Alex. This is my first indie comic interview. I just checked the thing. We're at 2 hours, which I don't mind. I've done podcasts for that long, but it's like, I've never done an interview for this long, but it's like, it was very cool. My first also superhero thing to interview, so that was a treat. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. It was fun. I hope